Okay, it's JBM from Mr. Creepshow 9. I was reading the Fog novelization, actually. I got 80% of the way through it, and I was like, okay, before I finish that, I gotta watch the movie, rewatch the movie. So I rewatched it for the first time in about 10 years, and I'd have to say I like it less than I did the first time. I thought it was a pretty good film, but now I see... Even John Carpenter himself admits that it was an abject failure and he was dissatisfied with the end results. And this really wasn't his... A lot of people think this was his next film right after Halloween, but he actually did Elvis, a 1979 TV movie with Kurt Russell as Elvis. And then he did The Fog. Filmed on the coastline, several different cities in California. And they really didn't do a good job of having the fog be... The fog is pretty much the character, but it really isn't that ominous, and the characters are such in terror over the fog, but you really don't even feel it encroaching on you in an ominous sort of way. So, let's talk about this. It's set in 1980, and the story is about these... leprous mariners who came to this Spivey Point or whatever it's called, this little coastal town, to start their own little leprous colony. And they had all their riches and their own sack of gold. And what ended up happening is the townspeople, 6 of the townspeople, ended up sinking their ship, stealing their gold, and 100 years later, they manifest through this fog to exact their revenge. As a reprisal, they kill the 6 descendants of the people that took their gold. So it follows that. But really, there's a lot of screenwriting no-nos in this, including how they just hop around to different characters all around. And all these characters are really rejects. Halloween actor rejects. They're all in a bunch of other John Carpenter films like The Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween. So you just see it throughout. Even he put his wife, Adriana Barbeau, this was like her first movie. Although she went on to be semi-famous. But I really hate that lady. I mean, not personally. If I saw her, I wouldn't diss her. But as an actor, she's just annoying. Maybe that stems from Creepshow, where she plays that irking character. But, anyway, a few of these actors actually ended up being in Creepshow, didn't they? Like Tom Atkins and Hal Holbrook. The only character I really found engaging was the Father Malone, the drunk priest. He's the one who... He gets drunk in the beginning and he has some of the best lines, but then they hop around to the town and you really don't see him until midway through it. He is the one who really explains and gives the narration, because he founds a journal. His grandfather was a priest who led the killing of these mariners, and his grandfather kept this detailed journal, so he's able to specify the details of this. And they really failed with the fog, like I'm saying. I don't know what kind of machine they used, or if it was just like John Carpenter blowing like a carton of cigarettes every scene. But you really didn't feel the presence, really didn't feel the threat of it. And the Stevie Wayne character as the radio host, you just wanted to see her die. And you didn't. Even though it really got really close. There's this one point where the mariners go after her and they put a hook around her neck. I don't know how she didn't die, but she fell down. It's like she didn't even get a scratch. And you're like, oh yes, one of our fantasies, one of everyone's fantasies has to be seeing a late night radio host. How they have that, you know, that lecturous tone in their voice where they try to be sultry, and you just hate it. And she doesn't even leave to go and save her freaking kid. She just gives she's like, I gotta stay here, Andy, and give play-by-play. So a lot of these characters are really vapid. Even Jamie Lee Curtis is just in there randomly. She did it because obviously she's friends with John Carpenter, and she just plays this ditzy wanderlust teen who bangs Tom Atkins' character. And Tom Atkins' character is really the only one who takes any kind of initiative throughout the whole movie. So you got these stagnant characters. Even Janet Leigh's in it, which is Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. And she's kind of like the town organizer. I got a few other pictures here that we could go through. Anyway, as for the book, apparently Dennis Etchison, who is from California, he's a tremendous writer. He wrote the novelization for Halloween and Halloween 2 and 3. Even for, Videodrome, he wrote that novelization and a few others. I've read a few of his now, reviewed them on my blog, movie novelization at blogspot.com. And he's a tremendous writer, but The Fog, I don't know what he was thinking. This was his first novelization, so it has a lot of flaws. It's really flat. And the way that it hops around to so many characters, that's just not a good structure for books, so you can never really follow one character. So he hops along, and we have to hear more introspective of Stevie Wayne, and she's just awful. I cannot stand her. And she stays at the station while her son's in peril, like I was saying. Anyway, what's the payoff? Apparently, they even just threw a lot of those deaths in and made it more gory with, like, the Scythe, because to compete with other horror movies of how gore was on the rise at the time. And the ending I thought was really good the first time I saw it, and that's how I pictured it. Like, it was a really good ending, how they show up at the church and they take down the priest, and he ends up giving back their gold cross. But now that I see it, it was really just horribly done. Like, all around the film was just bad. And as a nautical horror film, it's ambitious in its sense that it's a hard concept to pull it off. And for its originality, you give it some credit, but it's still an abject failure in the end. And overall, I give it a C+. This was JBM for Mr. Creepshow 9. You just watched another edition of Saturday Night Reviews. I look to do more videos coming up this summer 2016. And tune in every Saturday for a new video. I'm out.